I think we lagged. I think we have the lag.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. We were having problems with our internet before, so maybe this is part of that.
Huh. We were actually having problems with our internet earlier today.
Huh. You don't have Fios, do you?
No.
So it's just a crazy random happenstance.
Yes, but we do have Verizon, so...
Oh, so it could be just like this curse of Verizon. Or, I think it actually is fine now.
Is it? Okay.
Unless, I'm just blacking out for a span of 3 to 4 seconds, and then when I come to it, you are speaking, and I don't know. That didn't actually even make sense.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Lewis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room, a podcast about Doctor Who and other things. So what did you think of the Happiness Patrol?
I really liked it.
Me too.
I was surprised, because it looked kind of silly.
Well, I think it was kind of silly.
Yeah, that was kind of the point, I think. Maybe not necessarily a point, but it worked. I don't know.
Well, it managed to be both silly and serious at the same time.
Yeah. And it was, awesome, because, the Doctor, topples an entire government over the course of 3 episodes.
Yeah.
That's pretty kick-ass.
People who like the 7th Doctor, that's one of the things they like about him. And I happen to fall into that camp, so that is one of the things I like about him.
Yeah, I think I like him too. A lot.
Yeah.
Before, I was kind of sort of indifferent to him. I mean, I liked him in the episodes I'd seen, but not as much as some of the other Doctors, whereas this episode just really it did it for me. I really liked him.
It depends on what story you see. Sometimes he's a sort of buffoonish figure, and sometimes he's this dark mastermind who is only pretending to be a buffoonish figure.
Yeah.
And I think this episode is definitely the latter.
Yeah.
And I also really like Ace.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, overall, I think this story, I liked all the villains. I really like the Candyman.
Yeah, the first thing that I noticed when I looked up this episode on Wikipedia was the image they had of the Candyman, and I was like, what is that? It was ridiculous, but then I sort of was like, oh, this is awesome, when I actually saw him, played out.
Yeah, and one of the things about it is he's supposed to be as ridiculous as he is.
Right.
The costume... Like we've said before, sometimes the costumes and the props will look kind of poorly put together, but it makes sense that the Candyman looks poorly put together.
Right, he's made of candy.
Yes, and he's got a soft, chewy heart or something like that.
Right. It almost, doesn't make any sense, technologically, but it's still really cool. Of
course, it's all, all this candy and stuff like that is over this George Orwell 1984 kind of plot. which is fun.
Right.
From what I understand, there's subtext in there that relates to British politics of the 80s, specifically Margaret Thatcher. I don't know enough about British politics, but I guess that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to any of that because it just didn't. Yeah, that had no meaning for me.
I think it was earlier this year that Sylvester McCoy was talking in interviews about how they were deliberately being subversive and this was propaganda or something.
Okay.
And I think that might be stretching the point a bit. But, I mean, regardless of that, it still comes down to being a pretty interesting political piece.
Yeah.
I guess you might say.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was a fun episode. Or story. 3 episodes. Anyway, I keep doing that.
Yeah, you do. I wonder why it was only 3 episodes.
Wasn't Ghostlight also only 3? Or am I mistaking that?
I think you're right.
Yeah, it seemed like, and they didn't really do that previously, did they? With other Doctors? It seems like this is something that I've only noticed in the 7th Doctor sort of era.
Well, stories would vary in length. I think there might have been a couple of 3-episode stories, but for the most part, There have been a lot of 4 parts and then 6 or 7 parts.
I think it's kind of better. I mean, not every story can be the exact same length. I mean, that would be kind of silly. But I think that it's good to sort of keep it shorter, not try and fill out like a 4th episode with other random stuff. And, I'm glad that they resisted that urge.
And that's usually what happens.
Right.
If it's a 4-episode story, a whole episode will often be padding.
Yeah, so I'm glad they didn't do that here.
And I think it works really well with this story. It's probably something they should have done more often because, beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
And that's what you need in any story.
That does make sense, doesn't it?
I can't really think of anything about the story that I really disliked.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like one scene after another was kind of entertaining and, enjoyable to watch. I can't really think of any part where it was actually, like, slow or anything.
I think the one thing that I might have changed, and it's actually the same thing I said about the Caves of Androzani, is that this story has, the pipe people.
Oh, yeah.
Who are sort of monsters that don't have much to do with anything.
That's true. Yeah, I actually didn't really understand their purpose.
I feel like their purpose was just to have an alien.
Okay.
Which again is, I feel like I said the same thing about the monster in Caves of Androzani, which doesn't have much to do with the main story.
Yeah, actually, I was sort of distracted for part of an episode as I was watching it. Did we ever really get, like, a backstory on those pipe people?
I guess they're the natives of that planet that the human colonists had sort of, mostly wiped out.
Oh, yeah, okay, I do remember that. Yeah, okay, I guess, sure, I'll go with that.
You don't really need that in the story, because the humans are already, subjugating each other.
Right.
So I feel like the subjugation quota has been met.
But yeah, other than that, I can't really think of anything. I even think, like, the, puppet they used for that dog thing or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the creature.
Yeah, it was like Fifi or something, I don't know. But it was like pretty decent. Like, I mean, it was still clearly a puppet, but it was decent.
Yeah, it didn't move very much, but...
Well, yeah. I suppose that helped.
It looked fine.
Yeah.
There was a lot about the story that worked on its own regardless of, like, special effects or anything.
Yeah.
And any sort of creature. Like, a lot of it is just the Seventh Doctor's personality. Like, one of my favorite bits is where he sort of bullies the census guy. I think he was the census guy.
Yeah.
And the census guy is like, I'm the one who asked the questions here. And the Doctor, with no explanation, just sort of turns the table on it and insists that he is the one that asked the question and gets him talking.
Right. Yeah, I liked that.
It's a little bit like the Second Doctor in the War Games.
Yeah.
Like, the Second Doctor barges in and goes like, how dare you? Don't you know who I am? Like that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's more fun than the Psychic Paper.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so the Psychic Paper, that's just something that kind of introduced in 2005, yeah?
Yeah, that was a Ninth Doctor onward thing.
Yeah, the Psychic Paper is almost, like, less fun than that. But at the same time, I don't know. Psychic Paper works on buses and stuff.
Yeah, I always felt that was kind of strange, because it's supposed to work with your mind, but then it works on things that don't have minds anyway.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's always more fun just to see the Doctor do things by being clever rather than using a gadget.
Yeah. True.
So...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a short story, so I guess there's really not that much else to say about it.
Yeah. I'm surprised we actually have been talking for so long.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was an enjoyable episode, and there's not much to say.
Complain.
Yeah, right, exactly. which leaves us with not a whole lot to say about it.
Yeah.
I like the pink TARDIS.
Yeah, that was pretty rockin'. Yeah, I almost wished they'd left it pink just for, like, maybe a short while, so that maybe to, like, freak out the fans. Be like, oh my god, it's gonna be pink now. Or, I don't know. Or at least for the next episode, because I think that'd be fun continuity-wise. People might be confused. That might be cool, to confuse people.
You know how I said that a lot of people didn't care for the movie or care about Big Finish?
Right.
Well, the voting kind of reflects that, because not very many people voted at all.
Okay.
But one more person voted for the Big Finish Blood of the Daleks than for the movie.
Okay.
So, I guess that's what we're going to be discussing.
I guess so. That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, and this will be your first time listening to any audio drama, is that correct?
That is correct.
Well, you're in for something.
All right, then. I was hoping it would be something.
Well, I mean, it's certainly not nothing.
Well, I wanted to make sure.
Okay, and the week after that, I guess we'd be talking about the Ninth Doctor.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
That would seem to be the next step in the progression.
Well, it would, and, it's just for some reason I didn't even... It's just sort of, wow, I didn't realize... Wow. I'm just going to leave it at that. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, so, I guess we want opinions on the Ninth Doctor, which story we should watch.
Yeah, that's cool, because, there's a 100% chance that we will be watching an episode I've already seen, which is, the first time ever.
Yeah, I mean, unless a lot of people really want us to read one of the novels or something. I'm going to say novels, no novels, just TV episodes.
That's probably a good idea.
So yeah, I mean, no matter what it is, it's going to be an episode that I've seen multiple times.
There might be a few Ninth Doctor episodes that I've only watched once.
Well, maybe it'll be one of those. And, honestly, I don't know what people are going to say this time, because I don't really know what people think.
You don't know what people think?
Well, I mean, all the older stories, the classic stories, those have had 20 to 40 years to gain reputations. So, I mean, people say Genesis of the Daleks, brilliant, and then they'll talk of another story and say it's crap. But, with these stories that are only, 5 years old, I mean, people still, I don't know, maybe they haven't become set in their opinion. I don't even know if I'm talking sense.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah, other than that, I think it's probably best to make mention on the podcast that you and I have decided that for a podcast at the beginning of November, we're going to be reading a novel.
Yes.
It is a Star Wars novel called Death Troopers, which is about stormtroopers versus zombies.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, I actually need to go out and buy that.
I'm probably going to get it from the library.
I guess libraries exist around here.
They do.
Yeah, library's an option. Interesting.
Anyhow, I just wanted to mention that so that if anyone who listens to the podcast was interested in also reading it, they can do so before our discussion, which will be the first podcast we release in November.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, what did you think about the event? Really?
That's what I thought of the event.
That's kind of what I thought of the event, too.
I mean, the whole, 8 days later, 23 hours later, or earlier, or something. I don't know. That got old really fast. The twist, if you could call it that, at the end of the episode, or sort of end of the episode, where it's...
Well, let's not say what it is.
Yeah, alright, I won't. That was kind of lame. I don't really care.
You're right, exactly. It didn't surprise me because I was like, well, why the hell not? I mean, I don't understand what's going on, so why wouldn't that happen?
Right. I actually saw, an ad for this week's episode where it's the number one question on everyone's mind is... It's no, I wasn't thinking that. I was just wondering how this show hasn't been canceled yet.
Well, you just said the thing that I didn't want to say.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about not saying it, but then it didn't really make sense to not say it, because then it would just be the number... Actually, alright, do you want to just, do that over again?
I'm gonna bleep that out.
Okay.
Just like bleep my dad says.
I haven't watched that, have you?
No, and I don't really want to that badly.
I gotta do it out of morbid curiosity.
Okay.
That, and also I just love William Shatner.
Eventually, morbid curiosity turned out to be the reason I watched the event at all, because I had heard such bad things among the critics I was following. And, I mean, I have to say they were all exactly right.
I'm really tired of this... shows trying to be mysterious thing.
I mean, I'm fine if a show wants to, be mysterious, but that can't be its only thing.
Well, yeah, and I'd like to make a distinction here between being mysterious and trying to be mysterious.
Right, yeah. Let's compare this to the pilot of Lost.
Right.
Which isn't entirely fair because Lost had a 2-hour pilot.
Did it really? Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
I mean, there were some mysterious things in the first episode of Lost, like there's this creature, what's going on? How did they survive this crash? All these very strange things. What's this strange signal they're picking up? But all of that was sort of secondary to things like, this is Jack, he's a doctor, he wants to help people. These are Sun and Jin, they're Korean people, they sort of stay apart from the others. This is Charlie, he wants drugs. And I mean, like, these are our characters. The situation they're in, they're trapped on a desert island, is entirely recognizable.
Right.
And the characters and their motivations, not all of them are, but I mean, there's enough there for you to latch on to.
Right.
In the event, there's almost nothing like that.
Yeah. It's about this guy, and there's stuff that happens to him, and it's just, what? Mostly?
I think the most interesting thing that happened was there's a scene where he goes back to, I guess it's his hotel room, and like there's no record of him ever having existed. Right. He tries to call his girlfriend, the phone number is out of service.
Yeah.
And that's horribly cliche.
Yeah.
And it's terrible that I'm saying that's the most interesting thing that happened in the pilot.
Yeah, that actually evoked strong memories of the Sandra Bullock movie The Net, which, if you want to find favor in my mind, you never want to evoke that in me.
Okay.
So, if you haven't seen The Net, please don't.
Okay, I won't. Like, in that moment, I can understand, okay, this character is frustrated, he's confused, he doesn't know what's going on. I feel very much the same way watching this television program. So, I mean, like, that might have something to do with why that part appealed to me. And another thing is, like, when there's someone drowning and he tries to save the drowning person, and it's like, okay, he's just a guy trying to save a drowning person. That's something I can latch on to, even though it's surrounded by all of this like flashing around 10 hours earlier, 3 days later.
Right.
Crud. Do you intend to watch the next episode?
I guess I kind of want to find out what happens, but I guess I'm no longer watching it to be entertained, more just watching it to be horrified or, just embarrassed at... I'm probably going to watch it out of morbid curiosity.
I would say I don't have time for morbid curiosity anymore. Like, the morbid curiosity got me to watch the first episode, and that's about all I'm willing to indulge it. I'm out at this point, although I accept that there is a possibility that some miracle will happen, and this show could potentially become watchable. Like, if they fired everyone who was writing the show and brought in new writers for episode 2 and said salvage the pilot and turn it into a watchable show, it could be done. And it could even be done if all of the writers woke up and had revelations as to how horrible they were. I don't think this show is completely unsalvageable.
Okay.
And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my DVR to keep watching it for me, and I'm going to keep my ear to the ground with regard to critical reaction. And if, at the mid-season break, which is what most shows do around November, if I hear that the show is getting better, and that the show is not likely to be canceled, if and only if both of those conditions are fulfilled, I may choose to catch up.
Alright. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be watching it live, because because my nights are hectic enough. I think I'm probably going to just DVR it as well, but I will be trying to watch it in my spare time, if I have any of that.
Okay. It got 11.9 million viewers.
That doesn't sound bad.
That's a very strong number.
Right. Huh.
Last year, Flash Forward premiered with very strong numbers.
Right.
And immediately started to drop off. Every show drops off in its second week, but it was really significant with Flash Forward. And so the event may similarly drop off.
Well, I guess we'll wait and find out.
I guess we will. So, Undercovers?
I really liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't want to say I didn't like it. It's a good show, and I'm glad it exists. And I don't want it to stop existing, and if it did, I'd be upset.
Okay.
But it's not a show I feel like I ever need to watch again.
So you like it, in theory?
It's not even just that I like it in theory, because I feel like in practice, it does all the things it should.
Okay.
Like, it's just not a show I'm interested in.
Okay.
I'm glad there's a really good spy drama comedy that's more welcoming to new viewers than Chuck is, because Chuck is all those things, but it's also geeky, nerdy stuff. And it has a prominent will they, won't they thing, which gets really annoying after a few seasons. And I'm also glad that there's a show on primetime network TV that very prominently features black stars. Mm-hmm. I almost said African American, but Gugu Mbatha-Raw is not American.
Ah, yes.
And, both of the leads are really good, but I'm just not interested to keep watching.
All right, and I guess that's fair.
So, what did you like about it?
I liked the dynamic between the husband and wife, and I don't know their names at this point, because I'm bad with names, but it worked in that regard. I think that it got me interested because I liked seeing that sort of thing where they're sort of discovering new things about each other, I guess. I'm trying to say that in, like, the least cutest way possible, but it's interesting. There's sort of a humorous element to it, and I think it is mostly like lighthearted, and I don't know if I'd say lighthearted. Sort of lighter. It's not like as heavy, dramatic sort of thing as like Fringe is, and I don't know. Overall, I just like the characters a lot, and there was mention of there was sort of hinted at like a deeper sort of thing going on, like they've got no knowledge of why they're really being reactivated, right? And it's like, oh yeah. And so like, I want to see what's happening with that, so I'm kind of interested in that regard.
I think of this show as the kind of show that I don't need to tune in for every episode, but I'll watch it if it just happens to be on and I don't have anything to do. Uh-huh. Now, that situation will never arise, because I'm watching so many other TV shows, so this has to go for me.
Okay.
But I wish it the best. And I do agree. I think there are a lot of things about it that are really good. I think there's been some negative reaction to it in critical communities, like TV critics.
Really?
Because they have certain expectations when they see J.J. Abrams' name. And I'm just as happy for J.J. Abrams to be doing new things that aren't like the things he's already done.
Right.
J.J. Abrams did Mission Impossible 3, and this seems a little bit more Mission Impossible-y than Fringy or Losty.
Right.
And I think another reason people don't like this is because they say it's not as good as Alias, which is his previous spy show.
Oh.
But I mean, that doesn't detract from the fact that it's a good show. It's just not a show that I'm going to watch much of.
All right. Sounds good.
It got watched by 8.6 million viewers.
Okay. How is that for when it was aired and what have you?
I'm not too terribly sure. What I hear is that it's decent, but probably below the expectations that the network had for it. So, who knows? I mean, most shows, as I said, drop off after their first week, but it could be that it won't drop that much because it is pretty good. So, a lot of people who aren't me and aren't watching 20-some-odd different shows will continue watching it.
Yeah, well, and I most certainly will. I'm only watching like 5 or 6 shows, I think.
One thing that makes me wonder about this show is now that J.J. Abrams is doing this, I wonder if he's no longer really involved in Fringe. Because he hasn't been credited as a writer since the beginning of Season 2.
Oh, really? I really ought to pay attention to these things.
Yeah, probably. He sort of did the same thing with Lost. After Season 1, he was mostly gone, and he sort of stayed on a little bit in Season 2, and a little bit in Season 3, I think. But for the most part, he stopped after Season 1.
Huh.
It could be he just likes to leave shows, like set them up and then leave, and then continue to get executive producer credit, so he keeps raking in money.
It's not a bad idea.
A name of that caliber, like of J.J. Abrams, that makes it easier to actually get shows made.
Right.
Other shows can take a while to develop, but when people see J.J. Abrams, they're going to go like, oh, we better make this show.
Right.
Speaking of which, have you heard about Odd Jobs?
No.
Odd Jobs is the show Terry O'Quinn, who plays Locke on Lost. It was his idea that he and Michael Emerson, who played Ben on Lost, should have a show together that would be sort of a dramedy where they're former special ops agents that move into suburbia. Did you not hear about that?
No.
Okay, yeah, this was his idea, because he really wanted to work with Michael Emerson again.
Okay.
This first started popping up maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Lost ended.
Okay.
He was saying in interviews that, yeah, I've got this idea, I'm talking to people about it. Well, sort of abruptly, it came out that J.J. Abrams is attached to the project. It will be made. Like, the pilot has already been commissioned. And it has what's called a put pilot deal, which is unusual in that the pilot will certainly be aired.
Okay.
They may not order the full series, but they will at least air the pilot. Usually pilots that don't get ordered to series don't get aired.
Right.
So regardless of whether it gets ordered as a full series, we will see the pilot of this show.
I'm going to say it sounds amazing.
You know, I have to agree with you. I mean, J.J. Abrams is not the only name attached to it. I think also the people who did the American version of Life on Mars, which was sort of mediocre, but, you know, I mean, could still be good.
Yeah. I remain hopeful.
Yeah, and I mean, just seeing them together it's gonna warm my heart. One thing that makes me think it's strange is that neither of them seems like a leading man TV star that's going to draw a very broad audience.
Yeah, that's true.
Terry O'Quinn is older than you'd usually see a main star of a show, and Michael Emerson is sort of funny looking and weird, which is why I like him.
Right.
But you need a ruggedly handsome man in his early 30s in order for people to want to watch a show.
Right.
We'll see how they get around that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they won't be the only characters.
Maybe flashbacks to when Terry O'Quinn was young and handsome.
Could be.
Played by a completely different, ruggedly handsome actor.
I'm sure that'll work.
Why wouldn't it?
Anyhow, my point is that it could be that this means that he will be abandoning Undercovers after just one season.
Well, that would be interesting.
Who knows?
We
need to do the wrap-up.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so, I'm tired of saying this.
You want me to do it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
All right, I got this. Okay. Wait, no, I don't. Wait, okay, yes, I do. Okay, so, if you'd like to contact us, you can do so via thecloisterroom.com, or we're on Twitter with @thecloisterroom, or you could follow me on Twitter. I'm @MilesBelly, or Tom, who is...
I'm at... I am at T. Dickinson.
Yes, you are.
And thank you, Lewis, for saying all of those things.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Because I really didn't want to say it.
Well, I'm happy to do your job.
Well, I'm happy for you to do it.
I'm glad you're happy.
And I'm happy you're glad. Well, I guess that brings this episode of The Cloister Room to an end.
Yeah.
So, I am, have been, and always will be Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Lewis Midas.
Goodbye.
And good luck. Or something.